Hello and welcome to Freedom Through Astrology, where we're giving you the keys. And first of all, you can see my camera's still screwed up, so I'm just going to minimize this. And I apologize for this being late again. I'd like to get these out earlier, but school has just been wearing on me. A little challenging getting back into the swing of things this year. I'll get into it. It's freedomthroughastrology.com. I'm your astrologer. My name is Donald Patak. There's my contact information. Standard YouTube copyright, etc. applies. Keys to the reading one, because I do read astrology differently. I read what's called constellation-based astrology, sometimes called true sidereal astrology. It is astrology by the visible sky. Why? Because in ancient times, astrologers were astronomers. Tropical astrology fixed the signs to seasons way back in ancient Rome, and quite honestly, I'm not alive in ancient Rome, and neither are you. And me being a history major, I like to recreate things accurately when I can. So I'm reading the astrology, I believe, the way the ancient astrologers would have done it. And with that, it brings in another sign between Sagittarius and Scorpio. I'm reading backwards there, sorry. There is another sign. It's called the Fucus. It's actually one of the largest constellations in the sky. And it's the symbol of the wounded healer. What it is a person holding a snake by the head and the tail. Snakes in ancient times symbolize knowledge. So holding it by the head and the tail, control or use of knowledge. And in the mythos, Ophiuchus was ideally going to use that knowledge that he had gained to heal himself so he could heal others with similar wounds. That's the intention. So I do read that missing sign between Scorpio and Sagittarius. It's there. I also use the natural size of the constellations. Some astrologers like to make every sign the same size. Well, in the visible sky, they're all different sizes according to the wisdom of Mother Nature. Virgo is huge at just under 50 degrees. However, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Scorpio, Fucus, individually, each one of them is less than 25 degrees. So all the different constellations, all different sizes. I leave it that way. And this is from my training with Athens Shamenti. I use the astrological midpoints. What does that mean? When zooming in and looking at the IAU boundaries on a computer program, he noticed that, for example, between Scorpio and Ophiuchus, some of Scorpio stars were actually kicked into the constellation of Ophiuchus. The IAU boundaries are arbitrarily drawn. So he sat down looking at the zodiac belt in the ecliptic and said, okay, where's the last bright star of Scorpio? Where's the first bright star of Ophiuchus? Found the midpoint and said, we're going to go with that. And then he went around and did that with all the constellations. Quite a bit of work. But I believe it's a little more accurate. Keys to reading part 2. I interpret using evolutionary astrology, which says the planets, the signs, even the houses are offering you lessons to learn. So if you think of them as teachers, it comes across a little bit better. And you have freedom of choice. Just like when you were in school, you could listen to the teacher or ignore them. Same thing here. They're offering lessons. There's you chose to listen and learn the lesson, or decided to fight against them and, well, you made your bed, sleep in it. This is the weekly edition, so these are universal lessons for everyone. So do have a little compassion on your fellow Earth travelers. The dates and times are based on the Eastern U.S. time zone, as I do live outside of Buffalo, New York, and I'm operating within 1 degree of exact, which is when the energies are the most intense and when you're most likely going to notice them. That actually happens a little bit before and a little bit after, but I'm operating with the greatest amount of intensity. And the software I use to do my calculations is Capricorn by Prometheus. These are the weekly transits for the week of October 6th through 12th, 2025. We do have the sun in Virgo still. We are in Virgo season and will be for quite some time. We're in October. I think it might change by the end of October. I have to look. The moon begins the week in Pisces and will end the week in Gemini. So it's a fairly stable lunar week with a nice long chunk in Pisces and then another nice long transit in Taurus. So they'll be very good there. We do have the full moon in Pisces Monday night, October 6th at 23:49 or 11:49 p.m. Eastern Time. Hopefully I get this out by then. We do have two sign changes this week. Both Venus and Mars change signs. So our little Virgo parade will change a little bit. And our active planets this week, first and foremost, is Venus. Venus is actually the big player this week. So we'll focus on your relationships, creativity, maybe some R&R, how you're having fun. And then secondly, Mercury, it's really the only other transit. And the outer planets, Uranus and Neptune, are still playing their little game with each other, and Pluto, the three old planets of the solar system. Kind of my opinion on that, but the three tail end planets are saying, let's show everybody how this is done. I do have a cup of tea, so you'll hear me pause periodically while I drink. And our retrograde parade, we have Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and Chiron, all retrograde. However, at the end of the week, very late Sunday night, Pluto begins his transition to station direct, which is what his coffee break before he moves forward. Yeah, I just called station direct a coffee break. It's kind of like Pluto looks like he's standing still. Granted, he moves the slowest in the sky, but it's life. All right, so let's get the doodle tool up. So this is the week in an overview, and as you can see, we do start here with the moon. Begins from Sunday in Pisces, goes until Wednesday morning, where it will change into Aries. Thursday, I think it's around noon, it changes into Taurus, and then Sunday morning it changes into Gemini. So it's lunar, it's a very stable week energetically, very stable week emotionally. My cat just climbed into my backpack to take a nap. Fine, whatever. Okay, anything above this dotted line is a holdover from previous weeks, and you can see we are having one of our long transits end. That Neptune sextiling Pluto is finally taking a bit of a break. Not nice, but that still leaves us with that nice power Uranus transit here. So Uranus is still going to be the more active planet, will take over. Like that theme there is your individuality. And as we look here, you will see we do have Venus right there being the active player. And then on Tuesday, you do see Venus entering Virgo. So again, Venus is the power planet of the week. And I'll explain what the transit means when we get there. Monday night, we do have that full moon. So the beginning of the week will be a little intense as we do have these early transits. And then the late end of the week, it's still three transits, but one planetary transit, one sign change, and Pluto going station direct. I should have wrote SD underneath there. I'll do that now. Okay, so there we go. That's our overview of the week. And it's like an intense beginning. You get a break, you get a breather, and then kind of an intense ending. So let's clear all my drawings, close the doodle tool. Cat, please do not jump on my keyboard. Plenty of other places for you to jump. All right, so starting back in August, we still have this going. Uranus retrograde in Taurus, sextiling Neptune. Uranus in Taurus, finding peace with your authenticity, or being authentic and being your natural self. Uranus teaches you to be an individual. And in Taurus, finding that calm, quiet strength to be who you are. And that sextile there is feeding the Neptune in Pisces. And Neptune in Pisces, if there's a lesson of that, and I like the way Stephen Forrest says this, don't just do something, be there. So you're really learning to be present and in the moment. It's like your spiritual practices. If your spiritual practices are doing what they're supposed to be doing, they're teaching you to be in the here now. And both of these are retrogrades. This is a lot of internal work. And I always say this, you do the internal work before it shows up in the external work or the external appearances. So there we go. So ideally, this is you learning out who you are at heart, and that can help you with having deeper spiritual connections. Um, and recognizing everybody else's individuality helps, find peace in that way. But the shadow here is you giving up on your individuality. Shadow of Uranus is either acting out to get a reaction from people or selling out, like my crazy kittens here, all trying not to climb in my backpack. Hold on a second. Okay, this is going to stage dive, cats. Not a good thing. There you go. Uranus either acts out to get a reaction or sells out to fit in. Either way, it's being fake. And in Taurus, it's the lazy way out, just to be blunt. And Neptune in Pisces is just honestly just trying to escape life. It's trying to escape the pain of life and numb the pain, living in the fantasy. And so the sextile here is creating an excitement or an interest in that. So you're acting out thinking you're being really cool. Everybody's just thinking, what a dork. Or you're trying to fit in, thinking you're fitting in. You're living that fantasy of fitting in. And everybody's like, nope, not happening. So there we go. That's going to end on December 17th. So this is going to be going on for quite a long time. Back again in August, we had Uranus trining Pluto. So again, as you're becoming more at peace with your authentic self, this is helping you do the work of inner healing and inner transformation, because these are both retrograde. So you're figuring out who you are internally, and this is helping you do that deep inner healing and that deep inner work. And this can feel like a time of restoration and recovery. And people get this negative image of Pluto. Pluto's about transformation and deep, really, really deep transformation and really deep healing. And in Capricorn, it's doing that work. It's rolling up the sleeves and saying, let's make these changes. The shadow here, like I said, the acting out or selling out, which is the lazy way out. And instead of supporting deep inner transformation, this just feeds deeper wounding, feelings of isolation, loneliness, and bitterness. And ending this week, we have Neptune sextiling Pluto. Again, both retrograde. So you learning to be at peace with yourself creates an interest in doing that deep inner work of healing and that deep inner transformation. Yeah, and it can help with reclaiming energy. And my other notes here say also recovering of the soul. So it's just doing that just deep inner work. The shadow here is that fantasy, that desire to escape, hide away, numb the pain actually causes deeper wounds, deeper injuries, and again, those feelings of isolation, loneliness, cynicism, and bitterness towards life. So when you're trying to escape and numb the pain, you're actually wounding yourself deeper. And that ends this week, or you'll feel at least less intense. And from Sunday, we have the moon entering Pisces, which is time for you to emotionally, at least, you're open for a fresh vision and fresh ideas. You calm down, take some quiet time, chill out if you can, and look for opportunities for spiritual growth or insights. And how is that helping you find a new inner vision for this time? And this leads us into Monday. We have Mercury in Virgo squaring Pluto retrograde. Mercury in Virgo is improving your skills in learning and communication. Squares are challenges. The purpose here is to strengthen you. So how is your learning this new information, learning these new skills, how is this strengthening you to do that work of inner transformation? Yeah, I'm going to go with that. And the other thing here is mental paradigm shifts and breakthroughs can really assist here greatly. So when you find that work, find that challenge. I was listening to something. Was it Eckhart Tolle? I think it was Eckhart Tolle. Said breakthroughs don't come in times of peace; they come through times of challenges. So we're looking for the easy way out. doesn't exist. There's no easy way to enlightenment. It took, any of the enlightened beings, they didn't go through something that was really easy before they got their enlightenment. They struggled. So there we go. But the shadow here, being mentally rigid and stuck and closing yourself down in that way, can create a harsh burden that really feels crushing. And here we have the square being that crushing burden or a stumbling block that leads to what? Deeper wounding, deeper injuries, feelings of isolation and loneliness and bitterness. Yeah, focusing on those. Also, Virgo, unrealistic expectations. Feeling like you can't accomplish anything leads to you feeling driven to achieve an impossible goal and result in feelings of loneliness, isolation, bitterness, cynicism. This is just unrealistic expectations feeding darkness. And way late on Monday night, right before midnight, we have the full moon in Pisces. So the sun in Virgo is you learning to be a better version of yourself, and you're reflecting on what, or balancing it with what? Emotional inspiration. What did I have here? Yeah, it's a time to balance inspiration and your desire to improve yourself. How do those two feed each other? How do they balance? How do those two desires balance each other? What is my crazy cat doing? It's just an empty box. They're trying to hide in a cupboard. They get crazy during the full wheel. I mean, if you've had a cat, cats get crazy during full moons. So how are these two energies balancing themselves? The desire for you to improve yourself and the desire to seek inspiration and new vision and new ideas. Balance those opportunities. And it can actually take times for healing and growth as well. And learning to be still can open up communication between the spiritual and the mental or physical realms. And given that Virgo is ruled by Mercury, that mental, definite. The shadow here, pulling yourself out of balance, and this puts you into extremes of either escapism and been crippling self-criticism, because the shadow of Virgo is unrealistic expectations and perfectionism. And that can feed the feelings of crippling self-criticism. And instead of trying to find inspiration, you're just emotionally trying to find ways to numb the pain or escape. And what do I have here? Yeah, pointless fantasies can result in seeing everything as impossible. There we go. I'll leave it at that. Tuesday, Venus enters Virgo. So Venus is the planet of relationships and creativity, and it's learning those relationship skills, empathy, harmony, etc. Those types of skills. Communication is a Mercury thing. This is more about like the empathy, the harmony, skills such as that. And I also like to throw in creativity. Also, my readings that I've been doing. Venus is about having fun. How do you play it? How do you rest and recreate and recover? So it's entering Virgo. So you're learning how to do these things. You're learning how to become more skilled in empathy, more skilled in building harmony, more skilled in your creativity, more skilled in your ability to learn how to have fun and play. Yes, playing is a skill. And how do you get better at it? By playing. Yeah. So look at these things and seeing them as skills or something that you can get better at. That was a weird noise coming from my cats. I'm sorry, the kittens are just acting up. So seeing these as skills, empathy, harmony particularly, and also your artistic skills, whether that's drawing or painting or music or whatever it is, when you see these things as skills that can be developed and improved, it helps you with that. And it can help, you can look to people who inspire you to move on in these ways. The shadow here is being slick and manipulative, holding yourself to these unrealistic, perfect expectations, which you can't meet, which will lead to crippling self criticism. Nothing's good enough, so why bother trying? And you wind up being like me, needing a ruler and those little shape things where you draw circles in order to draw stick figures, and you still make a mess. Yep. Holding yourself to unrealistic standards, focusing on the impossible, it can create feelings of frustration, crippling self criticism of yourself and others, and everything and anything becomes impossible. Even with taking a break, instead of just sitting home and chilling out, you go out and get hammered out of your head and then have to deal with the hangover the next day. Ick, bad. And with that, the Venus in Virgo is now sextiling Jupiter in Gemini. Very interesting with this because both of these signs are ruled by Mercury. So this is very much about opportunities for information and learning the information that you need to help you improve your skill set in relationships. So as you open up yourself to the idea that these skills can be improved, you get the opportunities for new information and insights to come to you. Let's see. Yeah. And these can deepen experiences and help you kind of get yourself more aligned with your priorities and more aligned with your interests and the things that can help you. So whether that is in relationships, whether this is with your creativity, or you're just learning to have fun, you're going to the library and exploring all those sections on how to play games and stuff. Figure that out. Yeah, this is a sextile is a time of excitement or interest. It's like that first initial burst of wind and burst of energy. The shadow here is being slick and manipulative of others. You come across as shallow. This creates a crisis of confidence, resulting in energies being focused, energy and focus being scattered mindlessly, and endless distractions can wind up you falling into crippling self-criticism and pessimism and thinking like nothing's ever going to get any better. Wednesday, the moon enters Aries. Let go of the fears, find courage. Be open to challenges and competition, friendly competition, so to speak. Those things that help you to improve. The shadow here is falling into fear, whether that's anger or cowardice, and acting out on it. You can come up as being insensitive or selfish. Thursday, we do have the moon entering Taurus. Let go of stress and learn how to calm down. And we'll be in Taurus all the way through Sunday. So let go of stress, calm down, find moments of peace, and learn to take a break when needed. Relaxation can be really healing and restorative, So if you can take a time, if the weather's nice, you can get outside and connect with Mother Nature, do so. The shadows being stubborn can be exhausting and wear you down. And clinging to plans can make situations more of a burden than they need to be, and more of a struggle and a pointless struggle. And the bull, the Taurus is the bull, and they can be lazy, and it can be the bull in the china shop. So be careful of explosive temper as well. And where are we going? Friday, Mars enters Libra. So have the courage to take a breath, take a break, and the strength to be able to look at things from different viewpoints. Have the courage to have life not make sense. Learn to have the strength to let things be ambiguous and be a little bit up in the air. Remember, Libra is the scales, and then when I was in science class, we had to weigh something. We put the object to be weighed on one side. We started putting the weights on the other, and the scales would go up and down. Well, Libra is about that up and down and being able to see things from different perspectives and way different perspectives. Be open to have the courage to live and let live. Going to be very important here. The shadow. Mars slips into fear and cowardice. It can refuse to accept meaningful conflict, and that can throw life way out of balance. Or it can refuse to accept struggle. And again, still dealing with that life getting out of balance. It's possible to have power struggles here. As things get out of whack and you're trying to control everything out of fear, and that can create unnecessary tension. Also on Friday, we have Venus in Virgo opposite Saturn, and Saturn's retrograde. So Venus in Virgo, you're improving your relationship skills, your creativity, being able to find harmony and empathy, and you're reflecting on Saturn in Pisces, your ability to be mature. Saturn, I think maturity is one word that fits Saturn very well. Being mature and present. There's a lesson of Pisces, be present. So how are you being present? How is your being present helping you to become more mature? And with that retrograde, this is more internal. So as you're learning empathy, how are you maturing? Good lesson to learn. Reflect on that. And this can help build integrity and self-respect. And learn to balance that sense of the ideal with some self-compassion as well. Because Virgo does have an ideal that it strives for, and it's okay to have that ideal. And with anything that you're learning, you're gonna have days where you do great and days where you get out of the wrong side of the bed and kind of struggle. That's okay. Recognizing that and being able to work with it is certainly a sign of maturity. The shadow here, you're trying to own and control people, micromanage with those unrealistic expectations, can lead to bitter, Saturn. This control issues, the opposition becomes a power struggle. Saturn becomes cynical and bitter. What else did my notes say? Hold on a second. It does fall into immaturity. That's the other shadow of Saturn. There's something else that's just whacking me upside the head. Despair, self-pity, pessimism, falling into deep fear. And this is all in Pisces. So this is all a fantasy. It doesn't even exist. So this is all this unrealistic expectations is you falling into this fearful fantasy and your life being dragged out of balance, and you wind up trying to play a self-styled martyr to ease the stress and ease the pain. Not going to work. Saturday, take a breath. Remember to exhale. Repeat. Sunday, early in the day, the moon enters Gemini. So emotionally, a time of curiosity. Let go of old ideas. Open yourself up to new insights. New insights, new information. And expect the information to appear anywhere and everywhere. Expect surprises. I know that's a contradiction in terms, but it's like that birthday present. It's your birthday. You're going to get a present from someone, but what's it going to be? Expect the unexpected and have fun with it. The shadow here is emotionally, you're just distracted and all over the place, and you can feel disorganized and purposeless. And because you're all this distraction and stuff, you're missing golden opportunities as well. And Sunday, way honking late at night. This is after 10 o'clock nighttime. I think it's almost after 11 o'clock. I can't remember. But definitely I'm way late after 10 o'clock. Pluto in Capricorn starts to move station direct. Now, station direct is a time of pausing. It was like Pluto's taking a coffee break before he starts moving forward. So you may feel a little stuck in doing the work of transformation. That's okay. Take a breath. Enjoy your cup of whatever you're drinking, whether it's coffee or tea, water, whatever. Phone keeps going into dark screen. So re-enter the work of this transformation and doing that work of deep healing. So this is time to take a pause, look at what you learned while it was in retrograde, look at the internal work that you've done, and be prepared to now start doing that and having that show up in the external world. Knowing that this work can be hard and challenging and require persistence and self-discipline. Ideally, your personal values have been redefined, work on, and now you're working on incorporating them out into the world and into your life. The shadow, Pluto can slip into cynicism and nihilism and a very dark attitude. And in Capricorn, this feeds into feelings of isolation and loneliness. Life can seem like a self-created prison and a sentence to be served, alone and miserable. So this is where we'll begin next week with this Pluto moving station direct. So with that being said, thank you very much for listening to me this far. Do follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and on YouTube. I'm also on the Digital Soul Space. These three companies are making billions of dollars off your data, and you ain't getting that much of it if you're getting anything at all. Digital Soul Space is hosted on the Mighty Network, so you control your data, who gets access to what, and how they can use it. There's 4 moderators. It's a troll-free zone. I call it the spiritual safe space of the internet. And there's 2 tiers. There's a free tier and there's a paid tier now. The free tier gets you limited access. The paid tier, which is only $1.99 a month, which is incredible for what you get, gets you unlimited access to everything. Sorry about that, a little tired. But yeah, I do astrology on there, but there's also people who do crystals, there's tarot, oracle decks, a wide variety of spiritual practices. I know there's people who practice the Nordic tradition, there's some Native American, there's some Wicca and witches. I guess there's a difference between the two, so I've been led to believe. Just anything in numerology, cartomancy, you name it, it's probably on there. And if it's not on there, it's pretty easy to get it put in from what I understand. So if you got a question, ask. Everybody will share what they know. I do readings and I do a quick 6 reading. So if you want to see how your chart changes from tropical astrology to true sidereal, quick 6 helps you see it with 6 key points. And then I do a full birth or natal chart reading and an evolutionary astrology. This is your birth contract. This is who you came here to become. It's not the beginning, it's your end all goal. So what are you working towards and who are you striving to really be? I also do a karmic or a past life reading. If you notice situations situations happening to you, why is this always happening to me? It's probably buried in your chart under the nodes. So this focuses on the south and north node and planets in relationship to them and the houses. So it's a very powerful reading. It can be either a past life reading or a special lesson. And I do horoscopes 1 year, which is any 12 months in a row, any 3 months in a row, or any 1 month. And the month can be new moon to new moon, or at first of the month to the last of the month, or any reasonable moon phase to moon phase, whatever. We'll figure it out. And then I also do packages that combine these readings at 4 different levels, and there's a 10% discount built right into that. Do like, follow, and share. If you do go to my website, you'll get a pop-up. All you need is an email address, and you get from me a once-a-week newsletter. And if you accidentally close that out in the upper right-hand corner, you will see a subscribe button. Click on that, punch in your email. I'm all good. On the website, I do host a blog where I do take some of these forecasts and some of these transits and delve into them a little bit deeper. That's also where you go to order readings and schedule. So thank you very much. I hope you have the best week possible. And remember, in the visible sky, your life changes.